Okay, so a long time ago in the land of Zen, there was two monasteries who couldn't get along at all. They were two different sects with different philosophies, and they just simply couldn't talk to each other and couldn't agree. There was a long standing feud between these two religions. So these two monasteries, they each had young boys in their employ as young disciples. And the boys would help the old monks, with chores and things like that. One of the jobs of the young boys was to go down to the market every day. Because of the rivalry of the two monasteries, the boys were told, don't ever talk to each other. It's against the rules. Don't do it. But boys will be boys, right? And so they became curious. One boy in particular was very, very curious, and as he was walking along the road, he would kind of peek out of his robe every time he would pass the other young man. One day he couldn't take it anymore, and so he stood at the side of the road and he decided, I'm going to say something. So he stood there and very nicely said, where are you going? The other young boy stopped, looked up, and very philosophically said, wherever the wind may take. Now what? The first little boy was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. He couldn't think of anything to reply back at all, and he thought, my masters were right. These people are weird. I have no idea what that meant. He goes back home and he confesses. He says, I am sorry. I disobeyed the rules. I see why you had these rules. Those people are weird. I asked the kid, where are you going? And he said, wherever the wind may take. The old master shook his head and said, yep, we knew that would happen. That's why we told you. But now the game is on, and we have to win this battle. So here's what you're going to do. Tomorrow, you go out onto the road and you wait for this young boy to come by. And when he comes by, you say, where are you going? And when he answers, wherever the wind may take, then you say to him, and what if the wind is not blowing? And see what happens. The boy was very anxious. He studied all night long. He wanted to make sure that he got it right. I mean, this was one of the very first lessons that he had been given here at the monastery. So he wanted to make sure he learned it right. And he stayed up all night long, going over and over and over in his head to say, and what if the wind isn't blowing? And what if the wind isn't blowing? By morning, he was ready. He walked out to the crossroads and waited for the boy to come. Along comes the young boy from the other monastery. So he looks at him and he says, where are you going? And the other boy replied back, wherever the legs may take. Now what? His lesson was useless. He had no idea how to answer this. So again, the young boy dropped his head and ran back home and said, I just don't know what to do. I was supposed to get the answer about the wind, but now he's talking about legs, and I don't know how to answer this. And the master says, oh my gosh, this is how those people always are. We have to beat them. So here's what you do. You go back to the road. When he comes, you ask him and you say, where are you going? And when he says, wherever the legs may take, then you answer back, and if you were born crippled, then what? Or if he says the thing about the wind, you reply your idea about the wind. So you've got it. You've got two things. You're bound to succeed. So again, the boy sat up all night long, studying and worrying. Next day, he hadn't slept now in 2 days, right? He goes back to the crossroads. Here comes the other young man walking along. He's all ready. He looks at him and he says, "Where are you going?" And the other boy replied, "Oh, I'm going to the market to get some vegetables." This is just exactly like studying and studying and studying religion. You can't ever get the right enough answer.